Welcome to Biozone channel. So in this session we'll discuss very important concept, chemiosmotic hypothesis. Dear students, this hypothesis was proposed by Peter Mitchell in the year 1961. The process of ATP synthesis is linked to the development of proton gradient across the thylakoid membrane. The causes of proton gradient across the membrane are like this. Number one, the photolysis of water occurs inside the thylakoid membrane to produce protons. Number two, as electrons pass through photosystems, the protons are transported across the membrane because the primary acceptor of electron is located on outer side of the thylakoid membrane. This is the second cause. Third one, NADP reductase enzyme complex is located in the stroma side of the thylakoid membrane. So electrons come out from the acceptor of electrons of PS1. These protons are necessary for the reduction of NADP to NADPH2. So these protons are also removed from the stroma. So these are the three causes of proton gradient across the thylakoid membrane. So let us understand this hypothesis in detail with this diagram. So this is the thylakoid structure and these are the membranes, outer thylakoid membrane, inner thylakoid membrane. In the outer thylakoid membrane, NADP reductase enzyme complex is present. On the inner side of the thylakoid membrane, this photolysis of water, that is the complex for photolysis of water, is located on the inner side of the thylakoid membrane, and this is the stroma or matrix. So this region is stroma. You have studied in the non-cyclic photophosphorylation that whenever the solar radiations are going to fall on pigment system complexes, what happens? The electrons are released by the chloropigments and these electrons are transporting from one molecule to another molecule. So in this pathway, what happens? The electrons are transported to different electron carriers. At one point, what happens? These electrons are transported to hydrogen carrier molecule, not to an electron carrier. So remember, that molecule is cytochrome molecule. So this cytochrome molecule is a hydrogen carrier. So this hydrogen carrier removes protons from the stroma site and the electrons later transported to next electron carrier. So during this transportation, the protons which are present in the stroma site or matrix are pumped into the lumen of the thylakoid, because of which what happens? So protons are accumulated in the lumen of the thylakoid. Next, you have studied that during photolysis of water, the two protons, the two electrons and one oxygen atom is released, and the two electrons are moved onto the photosystem so as to replace the loss of electrons that I have told you in the last class. Whereas the two protons get released in the lumen of the thylakoid membrane, and the oxygen atom, which is also released in the lumen of the thylakoid membrane, get diffused from that lumen. Next, the electrons which are also releasing from the photosystem 1 complex, they are accepted by the electron carriers, and these electrons are utilized for the reduction of NADP to NADPH2. So this is the NADP reductase enzyme complex which catalyzes the reduction of NADP to NADPH2. So for the reduction of NADP to NADP into NADPH2, the two electrons are necessary, and those electrons are coming from the electron carriers, and the two protons are also necessary for the reduction of NADP to NADPH2. So these protons are transported from stroma to this NADP molecule so as to reduce it to NADPH2. So because of these reasons, the more number of protons are get accumulated in the lumen of the thylakoid. After this, what happens? A proton gradient develops in the lumen of the thylakoid membrane, and you are seeing these proteins. So this is CF0 or CF0 protein molecule, which is embedded in the thylakoid membrane, and this is CF1 protein molecule, which is not embedded in the thylakoid membrane. And these protons are passing through this CF0 channel into the stroma. So during this transportation, what happens? Energy is released. So that energy is utilized for the formation of ATP molecule. Means the ADP, that is adenosine diphosphate, get combined with inorganic phosphate so as to produce ATP molecule. So the same is shown here. So this ADP get combined with that inorganic phosphate so as to form this ATP molecule, and the energy which is released during this pathway, that is from the lumen of thylakoid, the protons are pumped into the stroma. So during their transportation, the energy is released, so that energy is utilized for the formation of ATP molecule. So that's why it is called as chemiosmotic hypothesis or chemiosmosis, and the hypothesis is known as chemiosmotic hypothesis.